Hi, I'm Dr. Kelly Barron, and this is the Kelfire Show. And a couple months ago, I had talked to Rachel, the producer of the show, and kind of told her about the idea I had, and she really got behind me and got behind the podcast. And I thought we'd come on today, and Rachel could ask me a few questions so that you guys understood the vision of this podcast. So I will turn it over to you, Miss Rachel.
Yes. First of all, the topic of women and wellness is so important for today, and introducing menopause and this journey that women are going on really resonated with how I would love to support that conversation. And just meeting you and seeing how dynamic you are, I was like, wow, I get to produce Kelly's show. I'm on board. So I'm so grateful to sit here and kind of dig into the reasons why you started it. So I have a couple of questions.
Fire away.
Are you ready?
Not really, but okay.
I had a particular order, but now I'm going in a different order. And the first question I have for you is, how has perimenopause impacted your life?
That's a great question, because it's so different for everyone, and it comes at different ages, different symptoms. For myself, it kind of, it's not that I didn't know much about it, I didn't pay attention. I was always like, oh, I have 10 years, I have this, that, or the other thing. And then one day you wake up, and for me, I was like, I'm sweating at night. So night sweats was the first thing that I noticed, and it took me by surprise. I really think I was in some sort of denial that I'm forever young. And then after that, like I told you this morning, I was freaking out. Like all of a sudden, adult onset acne is back. Like what the hell happened? That went way years ago in my 20s, and now it's back. And so, and then mood swings, things like that. So it's just affected like who I was even a year ago is close to a completely different person than who I am now. And it's hard to explain how that impacts you, but it really does. It's a big impact on your self-confidence, your femininity, how you view life, how you live your life. It's not scary, and I don't want to make it sound scary or terrible or this evil thing, because it's not. It's actually a time to celebrate a new phase of your life, and that's what I want to get across to women.
Well, I just want to say you look forever young. And like I said earlier, you're so dynamic. So again, you're taking this vulnerable new transition in your life and you're sharing it with others. And I just think that's really amazing.
I'm going to pay you extra for that.
It came from the heart. Okay. There's all these ways of talking about menopause, articles, coaching, other channels, but you decided to do a podcast. What inspired you to launch this podcast, The Kelfire Show?
2 reasons. The first reason is I wanted it to have an element of entertainment and lightheartedness versus just, putting it in writing or coaching one-on-one necessarily. You could reach so many people quicker, and you can make it fun, and you can make it educational, and I just wanted that to come out. I wanted to be able to give a forum for people to interact with, and to have women come on and share their stories and tell their tales. And as you've seen, we've had several different guests talking about different subjects, but they all just wanted to get that out, and I wanted there to be a platform for that. The second reason, much like most of the guests that have been on already, is I continually put myself in a position where I have to become comfortable being uncomfortable. And I do not like public speaking whatsoever. So saying, okay, you're going to do a podcast, it's the most terrifying thing you could ever do. You're going to mess this up, but let's just do it. Let's get it out there like that. So that is it's not glamorous, but that's the true story.
Well, you've definitely taken this uncomfortable feeling and you're turning it into a masterpiece, because at the time of our questions right now, we have recorded 4 episodes and they're amazing. And yes, you have this moment in the beginning when you feel like you're not ready, but you shine completely through each episode. So again, I'm not trying to toot your horn. You're good at this. You're a natural. And I'm so glad you stepped out of that comfort zone to do something really big for this female community.
Thank you. And I, as you've seen, as you've been affected, the comfortability, I think, just comes from listening to these women and their stories. And it becomes, it's not about you anymore. It's about them, and it's about giving them a space to share. And so that's easy. That part's the easiest.
Yeah.
Yeah, saying, hi, this is Dr. Kelly Barron is the worst part.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background?
So I am a doctor of chiropractic. Mm-hmm. I got my certified strength and conditioning, specialist certification, acupuncturist. And so I started in healthcare, alternative healthcare, and I've never left the human body, specifically females. It just fascinates me throughout the different life stages. So that's really where I started. There's been a lot of evolutions within that, but I'm a mother of 3 boys. That's had an effect on how things are. And now I'm doing this and a podcast, and that's the big thing. I'm into sports, but I'm not good. Well, I'm kind of good. Some of them. That's the biggest things.
You know, one of the questions I asked you was, what does your daily routine look like? How does your morning start?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm a creature of habit. Mm-hmm. I have to run off a routine. So I usually get up around 5:30 and make the same breakfast every day, 7 days a week. Well, shout out to the co-op. I do like their breakfast. So once a week.
Okay, but, what's the breakfast?
So my breakfast currently is 2 eggs and organic grass-fed ground beef. That's my breakfast. It used to be like Ezekiel bread and eggs, or avocado and eggs, but it primarily stays like that. I get up, I get dressed, I go to the gym. From the gym, shower, go to work. After work, you come back. Work never seems to leave you, but you just kind of settle down for the night, cook dinner, sit on the porch. It's very peaceful, routine life.
It sounds amazing. What's your wake up time?
5:30.
Love that. I've been telling you how I want to get up at 5:30. You're doing it.
I found the snooze button, though, for the first time in my life.
Oh.
And I've never touched the snooze button. I've been anti-snooze, and all of a sudden I'm like, snooze. Ooh, snooze, that's fancy.
It's because you're working hard, really hard. You're touching women everywhere. So, all right, another question. What experiences have most shaped who you are today?
That's good. There's 2 that stand out, and they've affected me and kind of the reason I'm here now. So the first one was early 20s. I was a victim of an assault. So I was a bartender. I was coming out of work late at night. I wasn't paying attention to my surroundings, and I was attacked in the parking lot. So that leaves you, as you can imagine, and anyone who's been a victim of any sort of assault, your whole life changes, your perception of yourself, how you live your daily life. So I spent, 10 years, I couldn't be alone at night. Mm-hmm. So if I was in the house alone at night, I didn't go to bed till the sun rose. When the sun rose, I'd try to sleep for an hour or 2 because I was just so afraid. Even when I was with people, I'd be out and my head was always on a swivel, and not in a good way. And I didn't trust people. So all that happened, and you just feel helpless. Then fast forward a couple of years, I was started to have children, and I wanted to have home births. Did a lot of research, had a great midwife. And my first son was supposed to be a home birth, but ended up being an emergency C-section. And because of that, I was still in this, this vortex, if you will, of feeling vulnerable and scared and not confident being a human. and then I had the C-section, and after that I felt like I was a broken female. Like I couldn't birth vaginally a child. Like what was wrong with me? So not only am I, fragile because of the attack, and now I felt like I'm not even worthy to be a female anymore. My next two sons went on to be home births, but that feeling still lingered with me. And those two things shaped me. By the time 10 years after the assault, and doing a lot of research because of my sons, because of the home births and the C-section and that feeling of failure, I immersed myself into childbirth education, became a childbirth educator. I wrote a textbook for prenatal fitness. I taught at a midwifery school. I just immersed in the childbearing years. And that helped me figure out, okay, you're not necessarily broken. It's just, this is what happens to your body. And then 10 years after the attack, I began to take private self-defense classes, but they were intense. They were a combination of jiu-jitsu and boxing and jeet kune do. We did gun defense, knife defense, all these things. And I did that for about a year, once a week, just to try to win back that sense that I could defend myself. And that's how I found myself fighting in MMA as an amateur fighter.
Wow.
Purely to just say, I can fight, and I can win or lose, I can defend myself. It was the scariest thing I've ever done. And that went on for a couple of years. And then that turned into jiu-jitsu, turned into powerlifting, constantly putting myself in a position of proving, which is not necessarily good, but because of those two incidents in the beginning, proving that I could be someone, that I had worth to be on this planet. And then that's how coming into the podcast happened too, just putting myself out there.
So those significant events in your life where they broke you, put you on this path to fight for your life, and now you're fighting for women. So it's an incredible story and message, and we're so grateful that you continued on despite the difficult circumstances that you've been through.
Yeah.
You're a beautiful person, Kelly.
Thanks.
You truly are.
Or stubborn. You could say stubborn.
That's fine. We're all stubborn.
Yeah.
Right? All right. The Cal Fire Show is sponsored by Tempesta. And I think it's time we learn a little bit more about the connection with who Tempesta is and what motivated you to start. So I'll go back to when I immersed myself in the childbearing years and education and that, and helping women, and helping to train midwives, and just everything about it. The raising the children, I just became really immersed in it. Obviously from my background in anatomy and physiology, but the endocrinology, the connection between mother and child. So, and because I was in childbearing years, it fascinated me, and carried that through. Hit this stage in life where most of the women that I was working with, their children were now older, 10, 12, and things to talk about, but everybody kind of levels out. Everybody's kind of on a, okay, now we're traveling sports parents, and that's the biggest worry at that point. Then as the years go on, and now I'm starting to go, wow, this topic of perimenopause, menopause, I need to learn more. I'm working with women that are experiencing this. There definitely wasn't enough information for us out there in terms of the information of what's happening, but how to deal with it. And how do we take that in our lives, not blame ourselves that we're broken, that just things are falling apart and you have to accept it. You're getting old. Your biological purpose is done. And I said that this isn't right. This isn't right. Women need to have choices, options, medical, alternative healthcare, therapy, whatever that looks like, fitness, nutrition. And the idea of Tempesta was born was to create a telehealth version
where you could get online and you could book a visit with a medical doctor and talk about your menopause symptoms openly, freely, with no judgment, and you could get prescription medication if it was needed. Mm-hmm. You could talk to a menopause specialist, and I am one of them, where we can talk through alternative healthcare, how fitness, nutrition, mindset, lifestyle can help play a role in easing the symptoms of menopause and getting you through. We have a full line of supplements that I've championed. It's another way that women, they don't have enough information, or they have too much choices.
Yeah.
So I got behind that, and I love what we're doing there. And then we have an app where you can get custom nutrition, custom fitness plans, again, mindset coaching community as a woman going through these stages, perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause. And we just kind of want to get the message out there that we have attitude, we have edge. Women need to find that. They need to find that fire, and they need to run with it. We have another 40 to 50 years left in this planet. I said in the intro, like, I don't want to be in my polyester pull-ups, my velour tracksuit, and my Rockport. Some of you are too young to know. My Rockport sneakers. I'm 53. I want to walk around in stilettos and really sexy black dress, and I want to feel just as good as I did when I was like 20. And women should do that.
I love that idea so much. I mean, I reached 41 this year, and my life's not over. I will not accept it. I feel like I'm starting over, which is so exciting. Okay, so you're not only beautiful, you are brilliant, and you are bridging this gap of women who are facing these problems, and you're bringing them solutions. So cheers to you. Cheers to Tempesta. Love everything that you're doing. Okay. We got through a lot, so let's have a little fun.
Okay.
Kelly, can you share a fun fact about yourself that most people do not know about you?
So going back to the theme of being comfortable, getting comfortable being uncomfortable. Yeah, getting comfortable being it's such a tongue twister, but I swear I live my life by it.
Yeah. Let's say it one more time.
Getting comfortable being uncomfortable.
Love it.
I auditioned and was on American Ninja Warrior.
Wow.
We won't really talk about that.
That's so cool.
Didn't make it far, but it was terrifying. Mm-hmm. It was I did it in Denver. Oh, I forget, season 3. Again, didn't make it far, but it took balls. I mean, I'll admit it took balls to do that. I was in a crowd of the other contestants. I was in my 40s. I'm not a gymnast, not a parkour.
Yeah.
Have never done anything like that before. And I've got like 3, young 20 gymnasts over here, and these guys who are running parkour courses, and everybody's young, and then there's me. And I'm like, okay, don't run away. You can do this. So it was a very cool experience. I love that I did that. But it's just part of...
I love that.
Just not growing stale. Just life is worth living.
Mm-hmm.
And just get out there and do it. And we've had a couple of guests on who've kind of touched on this. Heather talked about being in your 40s and getting her nose pierced because she was like, screw it, that's who I want to be, that's who I am. All my tattoos here have been in the last 6 months because I just said, I want to do this. I was always afraid because you're a professional and what are people going to think? And then I finally decided I don't care what anybody thinks. I care what I think. So I went and got tattooed.
Okay. So beautiful, brilliant, bridging the gap, bold.
You're so good for my ego.
I like to encourage. And when I see like amazing people, I have to tell them. But anyway, you are fiery as well. And that is why... Well, really, what brought on the name The Kel Fire Show?
Okay, there's 3 things.
Okay.
First, and the most, unglamorous, is when my boys were young and Mortal Kombat. I don't play video games much, but they would play Mortal Kombat, and we had to have our character, and they're like, Mom, what's your character's name? And I was like, oh, Kel Fire. So that stuck with me. So then when I fought, media asked you right away, what's your fight name? And I was like, I don't know. Again, I'm 38 to 42 years old, and all my opponents could be my daughters. And I'm like, they have cool names, cool walkout songs. I'm like, all right, Hellfire. And then when I started powerlifting, I took that with me when I would compete, and it would be Hellfire. So thus it just made sense.
All right. So the Hellfire has come full circle now, and you're giving it back to women everywhere. Kelly, it's such a pleasure producing your show and an honor to sit here and ask you all the fun and amazing questions just to get to know you and introduce you more to your audience in such a special way.
I'm glad we got to do this.
I am too.
You all should hear us chit-chatting before this stuff.
I know.
That's a worthwhile
well,
show
look,
one time.
It's your show. You close it out.
This is the uncomfortable part again.
You're so good at it, though. You'll get there.
Okay. Thank you all for listening to us, for letting me share my story. If you ever have any questions on what I've done or what I'm looking to do, please do reach out. Subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, YouTube. Follow us on our social media, and we look forward to the next one. We got some good ones coming up, so stay tuned. Okay.
Really smooth. You know your story, and it's a good one.
Yeah. It's interesting to say.
It is really interesting.